Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2521. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, with a very special guest by the name of Whit Montross. Whit, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, we're going to have some fun today. So before we begin and we talk about your career and what you're doing there at Hagerty, of course, everybody knows about Hagerty. I've been a Hagerty customer in the past. Would you share one little thing that maybe people don't know about you, Whit?
Oh, man, tough question, but I would say I'm a terrible passenger. I love to race cars. I love to drive cars. And, every so often at the track, you see a car, you're just drooling over and say, oh, get in the passenger seat. And it's not until the first couple turns in that I remember, I really actually don't like sitting in the passenger seat.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like it at all. Luckily, I've been married now for 40 years, and I always do the driving, which my wife loves, so she can take a nap over there, which is usually what she's doing. But I don't do that very well. And I'll tell you, 2 times that I've been in a car crash, and the only 2 times, is when I was a passenger on a racetrack. And I was in the right seat and somebody else was driving. Once was at the Historics, the day before the Monterey Historics, and the guy driving a Viper for the driving school that was there at the time hit some oil and crashed into the barrier. And the first time was during my driver's education to see if I wanted to start racing, which I eventually started doing. And I was in a car with a driving instructor in a BMW M3, and he went off the track backwards, flipped upside down, and slid down a hill. So I don't get in the right seat, especially on tracks anymore. No.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
Well, we're going to have some fun today. Whit Montross is responsible for running the day-to-day operations for Hagerty Marketplace. No doubt you listeners have heard of Hagerty Marketplace before. He and his team review thousands of submissions each year to ensure they are bringing the best ones to market with fair reserves. They work with sellers to make sure their listings are accurate and highlight their vehicles properly. Whit has been with Hagerty for over 10 years. You must like it there. Much of that time was in their service center underwriting insurance and talking with Hagerty members. At Hagerty, their goal is to ensure safe driving and fuel car culture for the future generations. And they do it so well. Whit built his first race car in the back of Hagerty's Colorado office. He currently races a 1967 BMW 1600 with Rocky Mountain Vintage Racing. Very cool. Whit and Hagerty their love for connecting with fellow enthusiasts, combined with helping to make the collector car world more fun for all of us. We'll be back in just a moment, but here's a word from our sponsors, so give them a little love, and we'll be right back. Buckle up. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com. How did you discover your path to a fulfilling life? Too many young people flounder in finding an education and a career that fits. But for those who have a passion for cars, trucks, and motorcycles, and who love working with their hands, problem solving, and fixing things, a career as a professional auto technician is incredibly rewarding. Cars Yeah is pleased to team up with TechForce Foundation, our charity of choice, in bringing scholarships, technical education, and hands-on experience to young people so they can discover a possible future. Join me and lend your support by visiting techforce.org today. Hey, guess what? Some of you regular listeners will remember back in 2019, I created 10, 11 shows called Cars Yeah TV, where I went to some fabulous locations of past Cars Yeah guests, and we did a TV show about it. Well, they're up on the Cars Yeah YouTube channel. So go check it out at YouTube. Just type in Cars Yeah, and the shows will be there for you to enjoy. I hope you have fun watching. So Whit, we are back. So I would love for you to walk through with those listeners that aren't fully aware of Hagerty Marketplace, because I think everybody knows about Hagerty Insurance. Maybe some listeners are new and they don't, but could you explain a little bit about what Hagerty is all about, Hagerty Marketplace was all about, and what you and your team do there?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, looking at the industry and Hagerty's mission to really just improve the experience of owning and buying and selling collector cars, it's just a natural fit that we would want to kind of get in and help people do this. I think we see maybe about 160,000 or so vehicles kind of transact out of the vehicles that we insure every year. So yeah, it's just a great fit. And I think it's a really powerful platform for us to build over the next few years.
So for somebody that's not experienced this, what are they going to experience when they go to the Hagerty website and they go to the marketplace? What are they going to be seeing?
Yeah, so I think our niche that we found is American stuff. Makes sense. Corvette is the number one vehicle that we insure. Mm-hmm. So we feel that we're bringing some really strong prices with Corvettes and Mustangs. We definitely kind of skew a little bit more American, and then definitely like 60s and 70s vehicles.
So when it comes to people trying to either buy, sell cars, or understand the market, is that what Hagerty Marketplace is really all about? So that, because, the car, well, you know this even better than I do, but the used car market, collector car market, I should say, but they are used vehicles, can be a murky place to delve into sometimes. And there's all these auction sites that you can go to and you can see what things have sold for. But in the case of the marketplace, you guys actually provide a platform for people to get much more in depth. Would that be a good way to describe it?
Yeah, and we really want to build tools to help elevate the collector car space for all of the enthusiasts that are out there listening to this podcast. You and I included. So, we have Hagerty valuation tools to help people figure out, what their cars are worth and, maybe what to expect when they're bringing their car to market. We have a fantastic media team with Larry Webster and everyone who runs that. So yeah, just building more tools to bring people back to Hagerty and just bring people together is really kind of what we're looking to do.
So when you go on to the Hagerty Marketplace, you can go and look at cars. You can actually bid on cars?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we're coming up on close to 1,700 cars offered. We're kind of going slow in our first 2 years. We really want to make sure that we're learning from our buyers and our sellers, and we're figuring out what they want to do and what's important to them in the product. So we're kind of taking our time and really making sure that what we're building is beneficial to both buyers and sellers and the overall market.
Whit mentioned Larry. He's been a past guest on the show, as has McKeel and several others, actually many other Hagerty people. So you can go back and find, just type Hagerty in the search bar there on the Cars There website, and you can find all these people and listen to them and all their different roles. But the great thing, you mentioned your valuation tool. And I remember back when the company was much smaller, and actually McKeel Hagerty came to visit me when I was working at Griot's Garage, and you talked about they're trying to build this valuation tool. And he said, this is harder than we think, but I think we're going to do it. Well, of course you guys did it. And I'll tell people, if you've not used it, you should go and sign up for their website, their newsletter, I should say, and use this tool. And I love that you guys, you're obviously tied into the market because you're really, really close, if not spot on cars that I've gone in, cars that I've owned, that I've looked at. You can go look at the history and everything. To me, is it working as an aggregate then? Do you pull all these prices of cars sold together so that people are looking at actual numbers and not what people hope they might sell something for or what they may have bought something for?
Yeah, and we, it's taking a lot of different things. So it's taking auction data, it's taking our own data from vehicles that transact, within our insurance book. Mm-hmm. And then Brian Rabel and his team do an amazing job of putting it all together and packaging it up in a very easy to digestible way.
So I can bring my car to Hagerty Marketplace and sell it there?
Yeah, absolutely. We love working with consigners. It's really fun to kind of wake up every day and look through the inbox of cars that, people bring to us. We get a little bit of everything.
What are your thoughts on how the collector car market is doing right now? And I know it ebbs and flows. It does all sorts of things. And a lot of it is tied to, well, I had somebody once tell me, look, the collector car market is tied directly to the real estate market. When the real estate market's doing great, it seems like people are buying more cars. When it's not doing that great, which it's been a little bumpy of late, specifically because of interest rates, it's a little bit harder. But I still see a lot of cars moving. People are still buying cars out there. Is that how you feel right now?
If anything, it's just the generations of cars, and people just need to be realistic about what price certain cars may bring. I think Model A's, there's so many of them out there, and there's not a huge market. I love Model A's. My dad has a 1930 Model A station wagon, so I, grew up, learning how to double clutch that, and occasionally drive somewhere, and then wasn't able to start it up again. So I love those cars, but we just kind of know it's probably not even worth what we paid for it, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, however long we've had that one.
Well, it's interesting when you look at the market, because I remember way back when the Ferrari market went crazy in Japan, and it seemed like people in Japan were buying every Ferrari they could get their hands on. And people in the US here were selling them because they were doubling, tripling their prices. And of course, then the yen bottomed out, and then all of a sudden all those cars came back at cheaper prices. Again, this is a real ebb and flow, but you have those weird anomalies. We saw it with hot rods for a while. I mean, really high prices, and it kind of came back to normal. When I sold my beloved Orange Crush a year and a half ago, just pure luck, I hit the Porsche market right at the top pinnacle, and it's still kind of the same way. It's softened a little bit, but would you say that the key to people having success, and I've always said, don't buy a car because you think you're going to make money on it. Buy it because you love it. But having success is when you go to buy a car, and of course, the consummate collector. Bruce Myers said when he was on the show, and I've become friends with him, buy the best you can and cry only once, meaning stretch as far as you can and buy the best car you can, because you'll always go right. Is that your interpretation of the right way and the right reasons to buy a collector car?
I totally agree with that sentiment, but I've kind of learned the lesson of buying a car that maybe I can't quite afford yet. So I'm buying the least expensive one. And then, you certainly pay for it in terms of doing all the maintenance and bringing that car up to spec in terms of everything that it needs. So yeah, you're absolutely right there.
So about your past, I'd love to know about where you came from and where this passion for cars came from for you. What was your pre-Hagerty history?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I've just always had this love of cars. I mean, my parents literally tell me that my first word was car. And they kind of just kept fueling the fire. I mean, they really helped me and encouraged me throughout my whole time. So, when I was 15, kind of shopping around for cars, I had a love of Range Rover Classics. I wanted a Range Rover Classic so badly. And that back then they were, $500, $1,000. But my parents were just like, no. They knew that Land Rovers weren't reliable, and they weren't a fan. So I found a 74 BMW 2002 TII.
Oh, nice.
And for whatever reason, they thought that was a better idea than a Range Rover Classic. And actually, I still have that car today.
Really?
I love that car. It's so much fun.
Now, what about this vintage racing? Because I vintage race for about 10 years. I drove an open-wheel Lotus 18 and a sport racer, a Lola T290. You're driving a BMW 1600. How'd you get into vintage racing, and what is it about vintage racing that you love?
Yeah, so, I actually, the first car I ever took on the track was my 74 2002 TII, and I loved it. I had so much fun. So right after that, I met this mechanic who worked in the back of our Hagerty office, our first Hagerty office in Colorado. And he said, you want to go racing? Do you want to build a race car? I said, well, yeah, of course. So we went to a junkyard to look at an E30 that still needed the full cage and everything. We ended up pulling two 84 Volkswagen Rabbit GTIs out of the junkyard, one that had a full cage and the other one that had a good drivetrain. And we just kind of built our first car, and we would do all the endurance races. It was called Chump Car at the time, and we still have World Racing League and 24 Hours of Lemons. And I loved it. It was hard sharing a car with someone because, you'd make this list and get through all your stuff on your list. Sometimes they didn't do all the things that they were supposed to do. So I think we both agreed the shared race car was difficult. But my real dream was kind of to race B sedan. So saved up a little bit of money and just kept looking for a good B sedan. and bought my 67 1600, which I love to drive.
Oh, great fun. Your comment, the back of the Hagerty garage there, I wanted you to talk a little bit also about what Hagerty's Drivers Club is all about and these different areas. We've got one up here in Seattle, north of me, a Hagerty Center, if you will, or if I'm calling it the wrong thing, where it's your guys' kind of place where people go. They do all sorts of things there. Can you talk about Drivers Club a little bit as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at the core of Hagerty Drivers Club is obviously one of the big member benefits that they love is our magazine. Gives you full access to our Hagerty valuation tool. You're talking about our garage and socials, which are great. Places that you can store cars. They put on Cars and Coffees. Really kind of working to build all these different tools that really just help elevate the collector car experience for everyone.
The other great thing about Drivers Club is you can get discounts on a lot of cool things as well. So I would encourage listeners, if you have an interest in this, go check it out. They're easy to find. Just go to Hagerty.com and you'll see the Drivers Club there. Click on that. You can see all the benefits. Great publication that you guys put out. So definitely connected to everything cars. I like to ask my guests about what I call our driving inspirations or key mentors in their life that helped them get to where they are. Is there somebody like that in your life?
Yeah, I think, it's really my dad. I mean, I talked about the 1930 Model A that he has. We just have a lot of fun playing with cars together. We did our first rally, an event that a guy named Dave Hort at Hagerty puts on called the Hagerty Silver Summit. Mm-hmm. And it happens in Colorado every year. And I forget the year, but we did it in a 1973 Camaro Z28 RS. And the night before, because it happens in May, I believe, the night before we get like a foot of snow. And we're looking at each other going, is this really going to happen? How are we going to do this rally? Yeah. I don't even think our windshield wipers work. But we went out the next day. The roads had they were wet, but they had cleared off. And we just had the best time. And now we make sure that we do at least one rally together kind of every year.
Oh, how fun. Well, that's cool. Okay, you mentioned there was a 73 Z28. Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got my driver's license in a 74. I was turning 16 and my neighbor owned a Chevy dealership and he brought one home, bright yellow. And he said, hey, if you pass your driver's test first time, you can keep this car for a week and drive it. And of course, my mom and dad looked at him like, are you crazy? And I went and took my driver's test in that car. And I'll tell you, the guy came out. Back in the day, you drive up, this is California, and the guy would come out with a clipboard. He was always very ominous looking. And he stops and looks at the car, kind of pulls his sunglasses down, gets in. He goes, this is your car, kid. And I told him the story, and he goes, well, you better pass then.
That's great.
And I did. And I got to keep that car and drive it to school for a week, and then I had to give it back. He may have thought maybe my parents were going to buy me that. There's no way in hell they were going to do that. But that was certainly fun. Bit the bug for me. So I love it. Let's talk about challenges, because I like to have people share challenges, not to relive a bad time, but it's really more about what it taught you. I always say, fail fast and fail often, because you'll learn an awful lot. I had a guest on the show once who said her New Year's resolution every year was to fail 100 times in the new year, meaning I'm going to try a lot of things and I probably won't succeed at all of them. Is there something in your life you could share that was a big challenge for you that kind of pushed you to the limit, but it taught you a really valuable lesson?
Yeah, a lot of stuff goes back to Hagerty, but before we started Hagerty Marketplace, I had a really cool opportunity to, and you might remember it, run a company called DriveShare.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool idea. It was a peer-to-peer car rental platform, so you could travel around and drive other people's fun collector cars. And it was great. I got to run it for a little over a year. I learned so much during that time. But at the end of it, we have so many things going on at Hagerty, and we really kind of had to sit down and go, okay, rather than doing all this stuff, we should probably pick a couple and really make sure that we do them well. And, we made the decision to sell off DriveShare and really kind of focus on Hagerty Marketplace, which I think was the right decision. But, it's hard to kind of sell one of your babies that you've kind of poured your blood, sweat, and tears into.
Well, yeah, it's a great lesson, though, to know when to, as I say, stop digging a hole and move on to something else. Or, sometimes you stick with stuff too long. I'll tell you, way back in 2015, in August, I had Peter Zawadzki from Hagerty on this show to talk about DriveShare. At that time, it was something brand new. At Hagerty way back in 2015. Do I have my dates right with that as far as when it started?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're probably about right. That would have been early DriveShare. Yep.
So there you go. I've been around for a while. So, and like I said, I've had a lot of different people on Hagerty. When you look ahead to Hagerty Marketplace, what is something that perhaps you can share that you want to do to expand Hagerty Marketplace to make it an even more robust platform?
Yeah, it's interesting. You talked about the membership a little bit. I was talking, Arjan who actually is in charge of Hagerty Drivers Club and our membership offerings. And we were just kind of brainstorming. We thought it would be really good to do some charity auctions through our platform, as well as just, really fun experiences. So I think, look out for those in 2025. We're going to try to curate some really fun packages and identify some charities that we want to give back to.
Sounds great. I love it. I know Hagerty does an awful lot for the car community. Many of the car events I've been to, and in particular, let's pick the big one, Car Week there in Pebble Beach. They're always there supporting, helping out. I've had plenty of your coffee and donuts during Dawn Patrol. In fact, I own every Hagerty Dawn Patrol hat. So thank you very much for making me get up at 4 a.m. so I can get my free hat. But yeah.
Yeah, those are becoming quite the cherished item.
Yep. I've never seen so many millionaires fight for a free hat as you do that morning. It gets a little crazy, that's for sure. I want to talk about a special vehicle. Now, you've shared a couple special vehicles with us today already. If you had to pick maybe just for today, pick one special vehicle from your past, what would it be? And maybe share a story about that ride.
Yeah, I guess I already talked about the 2002, so I'll pick another one. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called a Peerless. Not the American Peerless, but the British Peerless GT.
Okay.
They made cars for 2 years, 58 and 59. And this is a car that, as my dad and I did our rally in the 73 Camaro, we said, okay, we should start looking for another car where maybe we could get it onto the Colorado Grand. And I found this 59 Peerless GT that actually used to race at the Monterey Historics every year. And it was just kind of, it was on just some random classic broker website, and thought it was just so much such a cool car for the value. And we made an offer and were able to buy it. And the next year got into the Colorado Grand, and we ended up doing the Colorado Grand 4 years in that car.
Oh my gosh.
Never gave us any problems. And it's such a fun car.
That was built around a Triumph TR3 platform, I believe. Is that right?
You're exactly right.
Yeah, the Dion tube rear suspension. And
Yep.
that's a pretty rare car. And I have to go back through my photos of the, 30 plus historic races I've been to see if I've got a picture of that thing. Because it's a car that you just don't see hardly ever. It's a really, really unique looking car. Was the body on that car, is it fiberglass?
Yeah, it's a fiberglass body. And it's just the uniqueness of it. It's so much fun to bring it to Cars and Coffee. And everyone kind of stands around it, scratching their head, trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
So it's fun to share that story.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, you're the first Peerless driver here on the show, and that's saying something after 2,520 shows. So I love it. Well, I'm going to crawl into your head. I like to play car psychologist with my guests here. If you were manifest as a vehicle, not what you want to be, though. That's way too easy. You got to look deep in the mirror at the guy in the mirror. What kind of car or what car would you be? But more importantly, why?
Yeah, I keep going back. I have this love of old Land Rovers.
Okay.
And it could be a Range Rover Classic. I have a Series 2A. I love old Land Rovers. Mm-hmm. Maybe just because they represent adventure, but yeah, I love those cars, and I really resonate with them. I love spending a weekend in the mountains, camping or skiing, and if I have a Land Rover with me, it always makes the trip a little bit more fun.
I found some really fun YouTube channels to follow, and one is a young Polish woman who she has since sold it, but for many years she was driving around the world in an old Range Rover Classic, and she would travel by herself. I mean, she's been everywhere. I can't believe how I say brave, because she's been to some countries that I wouldn't drive through, and she drove an old Range Rover Classic, and that's what initially attracted me to her site. A friend who has those cars got me to one. So you're a unique guy with these Peerless GTs and Range Rover Classics. So it sounds to me you like a challenge.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it definitely is a challenge. And I'm not very handy with tools or fixing cars, but actually I do really think there's something that's really good to just be out in the garage and overcome those challenges.
Yeah.
Because you always run into some stuck bolt or something that you can't quite reach.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if you can get through that, it's definitely character building.
When I was young and I wanted to buy my first car, the neighbor across the street had an old British car for sale, an MGB GT, and I just wanted that car so bad. And my dad said, "Well, do you want a car you'll be working on all the time, or do you want a car you can actually drive somewhere?" And I ended up with a Carmagia which was easy to work on and pretty much bulletproof. And a good friend of mine in high school ended up buying that MG, and 2 months later, the engine completely grenaded, and that was the end of that. So I guess I was listening. My dad, his first sports car was an MG TC, so he knew a little bit about MGs and what they needed. So I love to have my guests share books. Is there a great book that you could share with us today?
Yeah, one of my favorite books is probably Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. I just think, it's so great. And it probably goes back to like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably a tie between, how he kind of encourages his employees to go out and explore the natural world and, be good stewards of the environment. And, the same way McKeel kind of looks to all of us at Hagerty, and, he wants us to go out to all the events and, make sure that we're on podcasts like this and just out talking to people who are enjoying the hobby. So yeah, it's a great book.
It is a great book, yeah. And that brand, boy, what a successful brand. And I'm certain that his passions for what he's selling really comes through. I know they donate things to try to help and save the environment and so forth. And they make good clothes too. I tell you, when I moved here 30 years ago from Southern California to the Pacific Northwest, I didn't even own a raincoat because you don't need one in San Diego. I had a wetsuit, but and I bought what at the time I thought was an obscenely expensive Patagonia raincoat. I still have it today. I wore it yesterday. It's lasted that long. And, it's just when you buy good stuff, it's like a car. Spend a little more and it'll last a long time. So great book, great recommendation. So let's have a little fun and go on the ultimate drive. I like to enable my guests. So I'm going to buy you any vehicle in the world, park it in your garage. You can take it anywhere in the world, and you can take anybody with you, including somebody from the past who's no longer with us. So that opens up the opportunities for conversation here. So let's start with the car. If I could park anything in your garage, what would it be?
So yeah, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has seen the movie Ford vs. Ferrari, and will probably remember the opening scene where Carroll Shelby comes in the Aston Martin DBR1. The 59 Peerless was actually outrunning Le Mans in the year that he won. So I just think it'd be so cool to go drive that track in the Aston Martin DBR1 with Carroll Shelby, kind of coaching me around the corners and telling me about the track.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that would be
I love that era of sports car. Yeah.
Yeah, the DBR1 is beautiful. There's a collector up here in the Pacific Northwest that I don't think he has it anymore, but had one of those. And I used to borrow a lot of his cars to do photo shoots with, and didn't get to really drive it on a track or anything. Got to kind of drive it down the street and around. And that thing is one of the most beautiful cars. It's incredible. Yeah, just wonderful, wonderful cars. And to be in there with Carroll Shelby, oh my goodness. So would you be driving or would Carroll be driving?
Oh, I'm not a very good passenger, so
that's right. That's right. Okay. Yes, you said that at the beginning of our conversation. Smart guy. I'm not sure I'd want to get in a car with Carroll Shelby driving. Nothing against him, but holy cow. Yeah, you'd better not eat a big lunch before you do that. You have taken us on a fun ride today, my friend, and I'm really glad that we connected. I've had so many great people from Hagerty on the Cars Yeah podcast. Could you leave us with some parting words of wisdom or advice?
Yeah, we said it earlier, but I always say, drive fast, take chances. I think that's true in the car world, but also in this kind of startup world where we're starting other companies, and fail fast, fail quickly, and iterate and move on. So yeah.
I love it. How can people learn more about Hagerty Marketplace?
Yeah, go to the website, Hagerty.com/marketplace. If you want to chat with us, feel free to send us an email, marketplace@Hagerty.com, or follow us on social media. It's just Hagerty Marketplace on, Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, I encourage you listeners to check it out. I encourage you to sign up for the Drivers Club. I think you're going to enjoy the magazine and all the benefits that you get with that. And if you're going to go to Hagerty Marketplace, bring a tall drink because there's a lot of eye candy there. You're going to be there for a while. I'll just warn you, but it's fun. And you'll find things that you didn't even know you wanted to buy. So that's the way it goes. I want to do a shout out. Thank you to our mutual friend, Will Brewer, for connecting me with Whit today. So Will, thank you very much. Whit, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule and spending it with me. Go check out Hagerty Marketplace. Whit, until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. 20, 50, or 100 years from now, will there be a workforce to care for the collector vehicles we love? With auto shop programs disappearing across the country, it's a question we enthusiasts have to ask. That's why I support the RPM Foundation, which exists to ensure that the critical skills necessary to preserve and restore these vehicles aren't lost to time. One of the many ways RPM, which is short for Restoration, Preservation, and Mentorship, is accomplishing this goal is through workforce development initiatives. The RPM apprenticeship program enables the next generation of artisans to earn a living while they learn the craft of restoring and preserving these vehicles directly from industry professionals. The Endangered Skills Program documents the process of masters training future craftspeople on a variety of critical skills in danger of being lost forever. For more information on how the RPM Foundation is driving the future of the collector vehicle skills trade, visit RPM Foundation today. They're one of the charities of choice here on Cars Yeah!
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah! Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah!